Something just happened behind the scenes, and the internet is still struggling to catch up. What began as a quiet whisper among private chats has now erupted into one of the most shocking, uncomfortable, and chaotic celebrity situations in years. At the center of this storm are Boosie and King Harris, and the unfolding events are leaving fans, insiders, and industry professionals stunned. This isn't the kind of celebrity gossip you scroll past and forget. It started quietly, almost invisibly, with a few insiders hinting at footage that wasn't meant to be seen. This footage had been circulating privately for weeks, kept under wraps and shared only among those with inside access. It wasn't trending, it wasn't public, it existed in whispers, carefully contained. Then everything changed. Somehow Boosie got access to this footage, and instead of keeping it private, he released it. The moment it began spreading, the situation escalated faster than anyone anticipated. At first, many dismissed it as fake, another example of internet chaos, AI edits, or fabricated clout-chasing leaks. But the immediate reactions quickly proved that this was no ordinary rumor. Panic spread. Social media accounts went silent, posts were deleted, and pages that had been discussing the story suddenly wiped their content as if it had never existed. People realized this might actually be real. The biggest reaction reportedly came from T himself, who insiders say completely lost control when he learned what was being shared. This was more than anger. It was a full-blown meltdown behind closed doors. Voices were raised, emergency calls made, people were told to stay away, and witnesses claimed T was visibly shaking. This wasn't the T fans know, the one who manages scandals, legal issues, and public controversies with precision and composure. This was something entirely different. Raw emotion, personal shock, and a man confronting a direct threat to his family's privacy. So, what was in the footage that triggered such a reaction? Sources claim this wasn't just a random leak. It was an exposure, something whispered about for a long time but never publicly confirmed. If true, this situation isn't simply drama. It's a revelation with the potential to alter how the public perceives T and his family. To understand why this escalated so quickly, it's important to look deeper than the footage itself. This didn't start with Boosie. It didn't even start that night. The situation has been building for years, layer by layer, behind the scenes, and the first piece of that puzzle is T himself. T has always carefully curated his image, not just as a rapper, but as a father, a leader, and someone who runs his household with structure and discipline. He presents himself as a man of principles, a figure of control, and someone committed to respect and family values. For fans who follow him closely, it's clear that family is central to everything he does. But the stronger the curated persona, the more magnified any crack in it becomes. And that crack, many observers suggest, has been King Harris. Over the past few years, King has not always followed the path of discipline and structure his father preaches. Viral clips of arguments, public displays of frustration, and moments of erratic behavior have painted him as unpredictable and chaotic. King has become one of the most talked about celebrity children online, often for the wrong reasons, and his every action is scrutinized for signs of rebellion or instability. Every time a clip of King went viral, T would step in, sometimes calmly, sometimes with intensity, but always attempting to control the narrative. Live streams, interviews, podcasts, and public statements became tools to defend his son, clarify situations, and shape perception. Yet the internet wasn't convinced. Fans started noticing a pattern. King's viral moments were almost always dramatic, emotionally charged, and impossible to predict. Behind the carefully curated public persona, whispers of arguments, tension, and explosive family moments existed. T's ability to contain these situations was impressive, but the question remained whether anyone could keep control indefinitely. This is where Boosie enters the story and why the situation spiraled so rapidly. Boosie is not known for staying quiet. When he sees something he perceives as wrong, he reacts, and he rarely holds back. Over time, he has built a reputation for speaking out on issues others are too cautious to touch. So when he got involved, escalation was inevitable. The footage he released wasn't just sensational, it was a spotlight on private dynamics that had been simmering for years. Imagine the setup: a father known for discipline and control, a son publicly testing boundaries, and a third party who suddenly exposes private moments to the world. It's combustible. Once the footage went public, reactions were immediate and chaotic. Social media erupted, fans panicked, and the family was set into behind-the-scenes damage control. According to insiders, the footage didn't merely embarrass, it revealed tension, behavior, or dynamics that had long been discussed privately but never verified publicly. For T, this crossed a line. Unlike other controversies he has faced, this wasn't about a public performance or a business decision. This was deeply personal, a direct exposure of his family's private life. Now consider King's perspective. Growing up in the spotlight, facing constant scrutiny, and repeatedly being framed as the problem child, has shaped public perception of him. The leaked footage didn't exist in isolation. It was the culmination of years of observed moments and viral clips. For King, the release amplified past controversies while adding new, potentially explosive context, further intensifying the public's reaction. It wasn't just fans responding. Industry insiders, tour managers, and collaborators began discussing the fallout, albeit discreetly. Conversations centered on how quickly family dynamics can be misunderstood, how fragile public perception is, and how one viral clip can spiral into a full-blown crisis. Former collaborators noted that celebrity families are under constant pressure, and even a moment of private tension can have catastrophic public consequences. What started as a leak had transformed into a structural issue, a lesson in how fame magnifies every crack, every misstep, and every private dispute. As the footage circulated, the implications became more complicated. Questions arose. What did T know before the leak? Could he have anticipated Boosie's move? How much was preventable, and how much was simply unavoidable given the years of tension building beneath the surface? For fans and insiders alike, these questions weren't theoretical. They were central to understanding the story. Boosie's role made this especially controversial. He isn't just a bystander, he's a provocateur in the eyes of many. By releasing the footage, he forced the private into public view, creating a situation that neither T nor King could immediately control. It wasn't about clout, it was about exposure, and the fallout was instantaneous. Social media erupted in speculation, debates, and fan commentary. Every angle was dissected, every reaction analyzed, and every post scrutinized for clues about family dynamics and responsibility. Behind the scenes, T reportedly worked tirelessly to contain the situation. According to insiders, he held private meetings, called family members, and attempted to calm those around him. But even with his considerable influence and control, the narrative had already escaped. Once private moments were in public hands, containment became nearly impossible. The leak exposed vulnerabilities and forced a discussion about the pressures and challenges celebrity families face under relentless public scrutiny. The story continues to unfold, and one thing is certain: this isn't a simple scandal. It's a layered, multi-year situation involving family dynamics, fame, control, and exposure. T's carefully constructed persona, King's public image, and Boosie's decision to release the footage created a perfect storm, leaving fans and industry insiders questioning everything they thought they knew. Ultimately, this episode is a reminder of how fragile public perception can be, how quickly private matters can become public crises, and how even the most controlled, disciplined personas have limits. The fallout will be felt for months, if not years, and the story serves as a cautionary tale for celebrities, families, and the entertainment industry alike. In the coming days, it will be crucial to watch how T responds, how King navigates the aftermath, and whether Boosie faces backlash or acclaim for his actions. Until then, The internet continues to speculate, dissect, and debate, trying to piece together a story that remains messy, complicated, and very human. And T's response? It was immediate and total. According to multiple accounts, he didn't just react, he exploded. Emergency calls were made, private teams were mobilized, and there was a visible shake in someone who usually exudes control. The reaction wasn't just about anger, it was fear, frustration, and shock all rolled into one. It reflected a concern that went far beyond the footage itself. It was about the implications, the exposure, and what it might mean for the family's image and safety. At the same time, Boosie's decision to release the footage, whether intentional or impulsive, changed the dynamics completely. By making the private public, he forced everyone to confront what had previously been ignored or contained. Fans now had a tangible piece of the story, and the narrative began evolving in real time. The footage wasn't just entertainment. It became evidence, conversation, and speculation, all at once. And that's the key. This isn't just a scandal about leaked content. It's about power, control, and perception. T.S.K. A fully cultivated image of stability and discipline has been challenged repeatedly. But this was a turning point. The chaos exposed cracks in the narrative he'd built, the unpredictability of King Harris, and the willingness of outsiders like Boosie to exploit moments of vulnerability for attention. The fallout is ongoing. Social media accounts continue to react, rumors spread faster than facts, and insiders are weighing in with bits of context. What was once a private situation quietly circulated among a few has become a national, if not global, talking point. Fans dissect every moment, every expression, every post, looking for clues to understand what really happened. In the end, this story isn't just about a leak or a viral moment. It's about a family under pressure, a father whose authority is tested publicly, a son whose behavior has consistently drawn attention, and an outsider who catalyzed a situation that had been building for years. Every detail, from the private footage to the public reactions, adds another layer to a story that's still unfolding. So don't scroll past this one. What we're seeing is the result of years of tension, observation, and public scrutiny colliding all at once. And the question now is, how does the family respond? How will King Harris handle the fallout? And what does this mean for T's reputation as a father and public figure? The story isn't over. In fact, this is just the beginning. With every clip, every rumor, and every insider comment, the situation continues to evolve. And while we may never know every detail, the combination of years of tension, public scrutiny, and the release of footage by Boosie has created a moment that will be remembered as one of the most intense celebrity family crises in recent memory. When a name gets connected to something like this, the internet knows it's not going to stay quiet for long. And that's exactly what's happening now. What started as quiet whispers in private group chats has exploded into one of the most chaotic and talked about celebrity situations in recent memory. At the center of all this are Boosie and King Harris, and the ripple effects are only just beginning to show. Listen closely, because this isn't just another story you scroll past. This is the kind of situation that starts sounding unbelievable and gets exponentially worse the more you dig into it. Late last night, multiple insiders hinted that a piece of footage, something nobody was supposed to see, had been quietly circulating in private circles for weeks. It wasn't public, it wasn't viral, it was something meant to stay hidden, only shared among people who knew too much. Then, according to sources, Boosie somehow got his hands on this footage. But instead of keeping it under wraps, he allegedly made a choice that nobody anticipated. He let it out. The moment it started spreading, everything went sideways immediately. At first, the internet reacted with skepticism. AI edits, fake leaks, clout chasers, it all sounded plausible. But then the reactions began pouring in, and they weren't jokes or memes. There was panic. People were deleting posts, private pages went silent, and social media accounts that had been talking about the footage suddenly wiped everything like it never existed. And that's when the gravity of the situation became clear. insiders claim, completely snapped when he realized what was being shared. We're not talking about mild anger here. According to multiple sources, T's reaction was unprecedented, a full-blown meltdown behind closed doors. Voices were raised, emergency calls were made, and people were warned to stay out of it. One source even reported that T was shaking. Think about that. A man who has handled scandals, legal battles, and public drama with calm precision, now visibly rattled. Something about this footage hit deeper than anything before. So, what could possibly be in that footage that caused this level of reaction? Some people now believe that this wasn't a random leak. It was an exposure. Something whispered about for years but never confirmed. If that's true, this isn't just entertainment gossip anymore. This is a real, structural situation that could shift the way the public perceives T and his family. To fully understand how this all went down, we have to look deeper than just the leak or Boosie's decision to release it. This has been building for years, and the first piece of that puzzle is T himself. T has long been known for carefully crafting his public image, not just as a rapper, but as a father, a leader, and someone who runs his household with discipline and structure. He's always presented himself as a man of principles, of control, of respect. For anyone who follows him closely, it's clear that family is at the core of everything he does. But here's the thing. When you build an image this strong, any crack is magnified. And that crack has been King Harris. Over the past few years, King hasn't exactly followed the calm, disciplined path his father promoted. In fact, it's often been the opposite. Viral videos of him arguing with parents, publicly challenging authority, and engaging in moments that fans could scrutinize have painted him as unpredictable. King has become one of the most discussed celebrity kids online, often for the wrong reasons. T has always tried to manage the narrative. Every time King went viral, he stepped in, sometimes calmly, sometimes with intensity, but always attempting to control the story. He appeared on live streams, interviews, podcasts, defending his son and framing incidents as misunderstood. But the internet wasn't buying it. Observers began to notice a pattern. Every time King went viral, there was always chaos, emotion, unpredictability. And behind the scenes, according to insiders, things weren't as calm as T's public appearances suggested. Arguments, tension, moments that escalated to loud, explosive situations were happening behind closed doors. T was a master at containing the fallout, but could even he hold it forever? Now Boosie enters the story. Boosie has never been one to stay silent. If he sees a situation, he reacts. Over the years, he's built a reputation for speaking out on things others are too cautious to touch. When he got involved here, the situation escalated immediately. The footage he released wasn't just scandalous. It shined a spotlight on private dynamics that had been simmering for years, just beneath the surface. And that's when people started piecing things together. There have been subtle tensions between T and Boosie for some time, small comments, side remarks, moments of indirect confrontation. Initially, these seemed trivial, typical celebrity talk. But now, as people revisit older clips, posts, and interviews, they're starting to connect dots. Those comments may not have been random. They could have been warnings. Timing plays a huge role here. Right when King Harris started becoming more visible online, when his behavior drew attention, and when fans began questioning things, this footage surfaced. And it didn't just appear randomly. It landed in the hands of someone like Boosie. That's significant, and that's why people are calling it a calculated move rather than an accident. Some sources close to the situation claim that the footage didn't randomly appear recently. Instead, it had been quietly passed around certain insiders for some time but was never made public. Why? Because crossing someone like T comes with consequences. For years, nobody touched it. And then Boosie released it, changing everything in an instant. Once footage like this is out, you can't contain it. You can't spin it. You can't control it. For someone like T, whose entire reputation is built on control, this is the worst possible scenario. Now, imagine King Harris caught in the middle. A young man already facing public pressure and criticism, trying to navigate his identity under constant scrutiny, suddenly finds himself at the center of one of the most talked about leaks online. According to whispers, he wasn't prepared. The footage surfaced without warning, causing instant chaos. And that's why T's reaction was so extreme. It wasn't just about protecting an image anymore. It was about protecting something deeply personal, something that could, if exposed the wrong way, change everything people think they know about his family. Then came the moment where everything finally exploded. The footage didn't stay private. It began moving through private channels. Sources say it first appeared in an invite-only Telegram group, a space for exclusive content that never touches public timelines. At first, it was dropped with no context, just a short video file. People watched confused. Some thought it was fake, some suspected edits. Then someone typed 6 words that changed everything. "Yo, that's King. Look closer." Suddenly, the tone shifted. People weren't watching casually anymore. They were analyzing, zooming in, replaying, comparing faces, voices, and movements. Within minutes, screenshots started circulating inside the private group. Side-by-side comparisons of King Harris from recent Instagram lives matched against the person in the clip. And then the room went quiet. When people think something is fake, they joke. But when something might be real, the mood changes. Silence. And that silence didn't last long. Somehow, nobody knows exactly who, but the video leaked from the Telegram group to a small Discord server, then to a burner Twitter account, and from there it spread like wildfire. Here's where things take an unexpected turn. As the clip gained traction, the original posts started disappearing. Accounts went private, posts were deleted, content vanished fast, not slowly, not gradually, fast, like someone was actively trying to shut it down. If the footage were fake, why panic? Why delete? That's when people began asking the real question: who's trying to control this and that? When T's name began circulating heavily. The situation has now reached a point where multiple layers collide. The father's reputation for control, the son's rising public presence and unpredictable behavior, and an outsider deciding to release footage that exposes private dynamics. Every element feeds into a narrative that is both chaotic and explosive. Fans, insiders, and industry professionals are dissecting every detail, trying to understand the motives, the timing, and the implications of each action. Now consider the broader picture. T has always been a man who values discipline and structure. He's known for handling conflict with a strategic mindset, carefully crafting how the world sees him and his family. The leak wasn't just a momentary embarrassment. It was a direct threat to that carefully maintained image. For someone like T, losing control of that narrative isn't just inconvenient, it's destabilizing. And adding King Harris into the mix only amplifies that. King, meanwhile, is at a delicate point in his life. Under constant scrutiny, trying to find his identity while the world judges him, he suddenly finds himself thrust into the center of a story that could define him in the public eye for years. The psychological pressure, the fear, and the tension are enormous. According to insiders, he wasn't ready for this, and the sudden exposure explains the extreme reactions behind the scenes. From there, the dominoes began to fall. Once the footage escaped private circles, there was no stopping it. It spread, it sparked speculation, and it created a cascade of reactions: panic, denial, chaos, and control attempts. What started as whispers became one of the most dissected celebrity situations in recent history, with every social media user, insider, and fan becoming a part of the story. And that's what makes this situation so unprecedented. It isn't just about leaked footage. It's about the collision of private tension, public perception, and calculated exposure. It's a story about control, reputation, and the consequences of decisions made behind closed doors. And as the story continues to unfold, one thing is clear: this isn't a moment that will be forgotten anytime soon. Every clip, every comment, every reaction adds another layer to a complex, ongoing narrative. When it comes to celebrity drama, the internet has a way of taking whispers and turning them into full-blown chaos. And that's exactly what happened here. According to multiple sources close to the situation, the moment the footage hit public spaces, everything changed instantly. T, usually calm, calculated, and in control, was reported to have reacted aggressively behind the scenes. Phones started ringing nonstop. People in his inner circle were contacted immediately. One insider even claimed that certain individuals were being instructed to remove posts or content immediately. And it didn't stop there. Another source alleged that there was a list of people who had the video and that they were being tracked. Whether that's true or not, nobody can fully confirm, but the effect was clear. Within hours of the footage going public, many people who had posted it went silent. No statements, no explanations, just complete radio silence. And that silence only added fuel to the fire. While the situation was escalating behind the scenes, Boosie decided to step in. And he didn't step in quietly. Not subtle hints, not indirect comments. He went loud, he went public, and he did it in a way that instantly drew attention. Viral clips of his late-night live stream began circulating immediately after the leak, showing Boosie addressing the situation without naming names. But the way he spoke, people knew exactly who he was referencing. He said things like, "Some of y'all be acting one way in public and a whole different way when cameras ain't supposed to be on." Then he paused, smiled, and added, "Truth always come out one way or another." That simple statement caused the internet to erupt. People immediately connected the dots, the leaked footage, the timing, and now Boosie seemingly hinting that he knew more than he was saying. Then came the first major twist. Online threads started blowing up overnight, and the speculation only intensified. People began to suggest that Boosie didn't just react to the footage. He allegedly had it days before it surfaced publicly. Digging through timestamps, repost patterns, and private messages, some internet detectives claimed that Boosie's access to the clip before the leak meant that this wasn't just a random reaction. It was deliberate. It was involvement. And if that's true, the question becomes, why now? Why did Boosie release it at this exact moment? Was it personal, retaliation, or something even deeper? That's when the situation escalated from messy to explosive. According to one source claiming to be close to T's inner circle, the moment T saw Boosie speaking publicly, he completely snapped. Not frustrated, not upset, snapped, shouting, objects reportedly being thrown, people trying and failing to calm him down. One alleged witness said something chilling. T kept repeating, "He crossed a line. He crossed a line he can't come back from." That isn't just rumor or gossip. That's personal, deeply personal. The reaction suggests that the footage and Boosie's public commentary weren't simply inconvenient, they touched something far more serious. And it didn't end there. Hours after Boosie's live stream went viral, cryptic messages began appearing online. Messages like, "Some things ain't meant for the internet. Certain people gonna regret playing with family. Respect boundaries or face consequences." None of these messages were officially linked to T. No verified account, no direct confirmation. But the timing, too close to ignore. Fans immediately noticed, and suddenly the narrative shifted. It wasn't just about the leaked footage anymore. It was about family, power, and possible retaliation. People began asking, is this about to turn into a full-blown feud? Will T respond publicly? Will Boosie double down? And what about King Harris? Because in the middle of all this chaos, King went completely silent. No posts, no stories, no responses, just gone. That silence amplified the tension even more. Now people weren't just speculating about the footage. They were questioning what was happening behind closed doors. What conversations were being had? What decisions were being made? And what kind of pressure was building within that household at this moment? And just when it seemed like the story had reached its peak, another twist emerged. A smaller clip, allegedly connected to the same situation, began circulating in even tighter, more exclusive circles. Not public yet, not viral yet, but enough people saw it to start whispering about a new layer to the story, something that made the original footage seem like only the beginning. According to insiders, if this clip gets out publicly, the situation won't just be messy. It could become completely unstoppable. For days, the footage continued circulating online. The longer the silence persisted from T, Boosie, and King Harris, the heavier the narrative felt. People began to speculate about what was being withheld. If more footage exists, what could it reveal? Are there moments that could alter public perception even further? The sense of an impending reveal, the potential for even greater fallout, created a constant state of tension across social media. And yet, the most striking element is how this story highlights the intersection of celebrity, privacy, and public curiosity. Fans and critics alike are simultaneously voyeurs and participants. Each clip, each post, each cryptic comment becomes part of a broader cultural discussion. How far can exposure go? How much should be protected? Where does loyalty end and accountability begin? This story has become more than a viral moment. It's a reflection on the pressures, vulnerabilities, and complexities of life in the public eye. One thing is certain, the saga is far from over. The next clip, post, or statement could change everything. Every twist will reshape public perception, fan narratives, and the unfolding conversation. For those following closely, the lesson is clear. This isn't entertainment. It's a live, breathing drama that continues to evolve, with real people, real emotions, and real consequences at its center. Whether it's a calculated exposure, a breach of privacy, or a combination of both, this story has already left a mark on social media, the entertainment industry, and public perception of celebrity families. The tension, silence, and speculation ensure that every next move will be analyzed and dissected. And when the next revelation emerges, it might just blow everything wide open.